Peppa Pig, the Red Forest, and Labubu. That day, Peppa and George were walking along the edge of the forest, but this forest was unusual. The leaves on the trees were bright red, as if soaked in paint, and the air was thick and heavy. Even the birds were silent, only a rustling sound like whispers filled the air. "Look, George, everything feels strange here," said Peppa. "I like it." George smiled. "Let's go further." They went deeper into the forest, and soon they noticed movement between the trees. A fluffy figure appeared among the branches, with long ears and sharp teeth. The creature looked like a stuffed toy, but its eyes shone far too vividly. "Who's that?" Peppa whispered. "That's my friend," George said happily. "He said his name is Labubu." The creature stepped out of the shadows. Its fur was dark and matted, as if burned. Its grin was too wide, teeth glinting in the dim light, and its long arms moved in jerks, as if it were hanging on strings. "Hello," Labubu said in a quiet whisper. "I've been waiting for you. We have to go home," Peppa said firmly, feeling a cold shiver in her chest. But the path behind them was gone. The forest had changed. The trees stretched taller, their branches weaving into walls, and the way back had turned into a solid wall of red trunks. Labubu stepped closer. His steps were soft, but each one made the ground tremble. "Don't leave," he went on. "It's more fun here." George has already agreed. "No, I didn't agree," George replied quietly, though his voice trembled. That night they found a clearing and decided to rest. But Peppa woke in the middle of the night to find George's bed empty. He was standing at the edge of the clearing, and next to him, Labubu. George stared into nothing and nodded silently, as if listening to orders. "George, what are you doing?" Peppa cried. But George didn't turn around. He stepped closer to Labubu and whispered, "I'll be obedient." From that moment, George was different. His eyes were empty, his voice monotone. He no longer laughed, no longer played. His movements were stiff, as if someone else was controlling his arms and legs, like a puppet. "He's mine now," Labubu grinned, showing his teeth. "He listens only to me." "No, give me back my brother," Peppa shouted. But Labubu didn't answer. He leaned toward George and whispered something into his ear. George turned to Peppa, his eyes glinting in the dark, and said, "Peppa, come with us." Peppa ran, but the forest was alive. Branches grabbed at her dress, roots crawled out of the ground, reaching for her feet. Whispers echoed in every shadow, and Labubu's laughter spread everywhere. She hid behind a huge tree, covering her mouth with her hand to quiet her breath. But then, right beside her, she heard, "We see you." George peeked from behind the tree. His movements were jerky, his eyes empty. He reached out his hand. "Peppa, let's go home." Labubu said, "You're ours now." Behind George stood Labubu. His ears twitched, his teeth gleamed, and his grin was wider than before. He tilted his head to the side and whispered, "In the red forest, there is no home. There is only me and you." The trees behind him swayed as if nodding. Red leaves fell to the ground, turning into gray dust. Peppa ran, not caring where, but wherever she turned, Labubu and George were already waiting ahead. "You will stay here," Labubu said. "Your brother has already chosen. Now it's your turn." The last thing Peppa saw was George's eyes. They were empty, like a doll's, and in their reflection, her own face closer and closer to the forest, and Labubu laughed, and the night in the red forest never ended.